Welcome everybody to this information session for the Master of Urban Forestry Leadership at UBC Faculty of Forestry. My name is Cecil Konijnendijk and I am the program director for this, we call the MUFL program in brief and in short. And I will tell you a little bit more about this session in a bit, but if I can have the next slide, please, Cheryl. First, I would like to acknowledge that the land on which the UBC Faculty of Forestry is located and from which the MUFL program is taught is the unceded territory of the Coast Salish peoples, including the territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. Next, please. So you'll hear today from myself, program director, and then you'll hear from my good colleague Cheryl, who is the program coordinator. So she will take you through some of the more detailed aspects of the program. And then we will have Lee Yupitin with us from the admins, from our professional master's office, and she will do some information about the admission process as well. Next, please. So we'll talk a little bit about University of British Columbia. Some of you may know the university well, others may be pretty new to it. So I'll give you a little bit of background, as well as about our faculty, of course. And then Cheryl will talk about the master program itself. We'll hear about career opportunities for students who are completing this program. Of course, many of you will be interested in things like application process, tuition and funding. That will be something that Lee will take you through. And there will be plenty of time also for questions and answers. So don't hold back with your questions and queries. Next, please. So the University of British Columbia is one of the world's leading universities. It consistently ranks among the top 40 worldwide, and it's often ranked as number 2 in Canada as well. And if you look at the ranking for the Sustainable Development Goals, then we're actually doing even better. We're number 13 on that list. So UBC is really a university that takes environmental issues, sustainability issues very seriously. We have close to 70,000 students, of whom about 56,000 are based on the Point Grey campus in Vancouver, the campus you see here. And about 10,000 of those students are actually graduate students. And I think the latest estimate is about 27% of those students are international students. So we have a very strong international focus in our programs as well. Next, please. So this program is offered by the Faculty of Forestry, and this is the Forest Science Center, which is the place where our on-site in-person teaching takes place. The Faculty of Forestry has about 1,500 students at the time, and we teach a range of undergrad programs, but also 4 professional or course-based masters, including this Master of Urban Forestry Leadership, which started a year ago, so actually still a pretty new program. We are consistently ranked in the top 3 of forestry faculties in the world, so it's really a world-leading faculty in that sense. And there's some really exciting faculty members, and you will come across those if you enroll in the program. World leaders in fields like geomatics and biodiversity conservation, and of course also urban forestry, obviously. Next, please. So here you already have a sneak preview of Cheryl, but this is not the real live Cheryl yet. She will come soon. But a little bit about the online teaching experience. So we decided when we started this program a year ago to run it really online, to give people more flexibility, partly of course because of the global pandemic, but also because we realized that many of you interested are maybe in positions where you have part-time jobs or you have families, and it may be very difficult to make a permanent move to Vancouver, or at least a move for a pretty long time, for 14 months. So it's online, an online program offered fully flexible. This also gives you the opportunity to be basically anywhere in the world, and we try to, of course, accommodate different time zones, understanding that this can be challenging, of course, and we literally can have students from completely different corners of the world. There's also a pretty strong element of on-demand learning in it. So not all the sessions will be live, so there will also be opportunities for you to do some of the learning at your own pace to give you even more flexibility. And of course, one of the nice thing is with this online delivery is that we have a very international focus, both in terms of our students. So we have a very international focus in our student body, but also in terms of the people who will be instructing the classes. So people will really literally come from all over the world to talk about different urban forestry cases. So I think in this sense, it's a really unique program. First of all, because we have this really strong international focus, and also because this combination of urban forestry and leadership is really unique to the UBC Faculty of Forestry. I think, Cheryl, I'll pass it over to you then.
Sounds good. Thanks, Cecile, for that broad introduction. And hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So what I'm going to take us through right now is basically a bit more detail on what the Master of Urban Forestry Leadership Program involves. So a broad overview first of the MUFL program. It is a 14-month-long program, and that means it's going to run from July next year, 2022, all the way to August 2023. That being said, do know that not all the months of the program are equally intensive. So it starts off in July, and you'll only be taking one course in the summer of 2022. But then when it comes to the actual term time in fall of 2022, as well as the spring term of August 2023, that's the most intensive part, where you'll be taking about 5 courses, sometimes even 6 courses on average. And then the final part of the course, of the program, is going to be the capstone, and that's going to be in the summer of August 2023. And there will be a slide talking a little bit more about the capstone later on. So overall, what the MUFL program offers is really an interdisciplinary perspective on urban forestry. And you realize on the slide, you see, what we focus on is strategic management, decision-making, and creativity. And you probably realize that all these are very essential traits of an effective leader. And that is why the word leadership is part of the MUFL program name as well. So what are some benefits of enrolling in MUFL? Well, first of all, you get hands-on experience. And I think some of you might wonder, how on earth am I getting any kind of hands-on experience if I'm online and I'm just typing on a keyboard? So what part of the hands-on experience does comes in actually the interactive style of learning. So a lot of the courses in MUFL are actually more like a seminar rather than a lecture. So there's a lot of interaction between the instructors and the students. And you realize that, maybe for a lot of the classes that you are in, you're going to have a lot of breakout sessions, a lot of discussions. You have a lot of chance to interact with your peers as well. And more importantly, during the capstone, when you take that in the summer of 2023, that is going to be super hands-on because you will work together with an industrial partner. And that's going to be basically a professional organization in urban forestry. And that allows you to get hands-on sort of real-world experience working together with a professional out there beyond the academic world. So the next benefit also, you will definitely get to expand your professional toolkit. And for those of you who might already have tried your hand at an urban forestry career, you realize that, being in a profession like that takes a lot more than just technical skills. You need to know more than just, how to plant and maintain a tree. You also need skills like people management or like conflict resolution. So the point of the MUFL program is really to be able to give you this holistic suite of skills that you can then take into your career. Another benefit, you will definitely connect with people from all over the world, like Cecile mentioned earlier. So in this year's cohort, we have people hailing from west coast of Canada, so Vancouver and the island. We have also people from the east coast, like Toronto, but we have people from the US, we have people from Australia, and we have Cecile, who's now based in Europe as well. So definitely from all around the world. And we hope, obviously, that with the new cohort coming in, we might even get better representation from even more parts of the world. And that's one of the more exciting and promising aspects of the MUFL program. And finally, we definitely think that you will learn from the best in the field. So we have instructors and guest lecturers as well coming in from different parts of Canada and different parts of the world as well. And these are really the leaders in the urban forestry field. Many of them have had years and years, sometimes even decades of experience working in urban green space. And so I think you can definitely learn a lot from their expertise. Okay, so you might have this question as well, is the MUFL program right for you and what's in it for you? Well, so just to give you, a broad understanding of what we're aiming to develop out of our students in the MUFL program, definitely we hope to produce creative leaders. So, leaders who can think out of the box and who can deal with things in the VUCA world that we live in right now, with urbanization, with climate change, and all the controversies that can arise from when you plant a tree in the street and how you deal with that. So definitely the MUFL program will hopefully develop you into someone who can deal with these kinds of issues. And more importantly, just oversee strategic, sustainable forestry projects that will benefit not just you, but like everyone in society around you. And moreover, to our knowledge, the MUFL program is actually the first full graduate professional program of its kind in the world. So you probably know that there are agroforestry graduate programs out there in different schools around the world, but having this specific focus on urban forestry is something that makes the MUFL program unique. And in terms of where these top experts I mentioned are coming from, well, we have some of them coming from the Faculty of Forestry itself, but we also have people coming from the Sauder School of Business at UBC, as well as the UBC School of Public Policy and Global Affairs. So already you can kind of see where this interdisciplinarity is coming from. All right, so more on whether the MUFL program is right for you. I think you probably realize if you are here today that there is definitely an increasing need for this new and more emerging kind of professional green leader who can operate in a complex urban environment, like I mentioned earlier, and to lead diverse teams, people coming from different cultures, different backgrounds, and people who bring in perspectives from all sorts of disciplines as well. Because urban forestry definitely is not just about forestry or about green space. You also have things like political leadership. You have things like business involved. You have things like management involved as well. So things like that are what will make the MUFL program a lot more meaningful and a lot more holistic. And what kind of people would suit the MUFL program best? There would definitely be those who really have this desire to become a leader in the urban forestry world. And that doesn't mean that you have to be a leader already right now. You can be starting out you can be just starting out in your career in the urban forestry field, but aspiring to get into a management role eventually. And then yes, this program is perfect for you as well, because a lot of it is just hoping to develop your leadership skills, give you some experience, and then you can go out there and test it and hone that skill as you advance in your career. So definitely we want to welcome as many prospective students as possible, but we definitely especially encourage those of you who have already started your careers, have some kind of professional experience, and you wish to advance that in the coming years. Okay, so what exactly will you learn in MUFL? So the broad perspective is you will learn to apply a strategic mindset, focusing on urban forest planning and management, and definitely understand, or you probably already understand, so maybe gain an even better understanding or a deeper understanding of the roles and benefits of green spaces and having trees in the city. And obviously, beyond, like I said, beyond the technical skills, you also will want to be able to develop other skills associated with project management or planning processes, so things like how to develop an effective project plan and how to implement it in a way that is timely and feasible and with a budget that's working, and how to manage risk and things like that. So some of the courses, no, sorry, not some, all the courses that you will take you will see on the screen over here. So you can see that there are some, the ones on the left are the ones that kind of are more urban forestry specific, and that's all will be delivered by people, by lecturers in the Faculty of Forestry or professors. So yeah, you'll see, developing green and resilient cities. That's the course that will start off the MUFL program, and that's going to take place in the summer. So that kind of gives you an introduction, gets everyone on the same page about what urban forestry means and what is expected of you and what does it mean to be a green and resilient city. And then over the course of the fall and the spring terms, you will go through all the other courses that you see on the screen. So the ones on the left are, you can tell they're kind of a bit more on the technical side, like arboriculture or ecology. And then you also have some like a range of governance and planning and management related courses. So that one will give you a perspective of how to manage in an urban forestry sense. And then on the right side, you will see that these courses are focused more on professional development. So more of the the leadership in the MUFL programming. So we have people from the faculty of the Sauder Business School, as well as the School of Public Policy. Those are the lecturers who will be taking you through the courses on leadership and sustainability, on project management, project proposal, entrepreneurship. That's, I think, one of the more interesting, unique courses that this program offers that not every student in forestry will get to benefit from. So I think that's one of the more unique and meaningful parts of the program as well. and policy analysis, because when you're working in urban forestry, you will definitely have to deal with governance and policies and how to make that make sense to you and to the public as well. So yeah, if you have more questions about these courses, obviously we're happy to take them later. Okay, so the capstone. This is kind of like the hallmark, the culminating project that you will do at the end of your program. And it's really where you will get to delve into a project of your choice, with guidance from topical mentors, from Faculty of Forestry, and also with guidance from technical mentors, who will guide you through the more detailed and more specific scientific, perhaps, aspects of the capstone project. And you will also be working very closely together with an external partner. Some of our current students they chose to work together with the organization that they had already been working with or are still working with part-time or full-time. Or you can also choose to work with a different organization altogether. But the point is so that you get to apply everything you've learned in the previous 10 to 12 months or so of the MUFL program. How is that going to look like in the real world? You probably realize that will be pretty different, and theory and practice don't always match. So how do you deal with that? That's where it gets fun, and that's where it gets a lot more meaningful, and it really deepens the learning for you. Alrighty, so who will be teaching you after saying all this about experts and leading practitioners? Who are they actually? So just a sense of who will be there. This does not cover all the instructors, but hopefully some of you might recognize some of these, especially if you're a UBC alumni, you might already know some of these. So we have people like Dr. Sarah Barron, who's now based in Melbourne, but she has already been taking a huge role in the MUFL program, and she will continue to be a lecturer. And then you have people like, you see Sophie on the top right corner, and Cindy, some of the youngest people in this suite of lecturers that we have. You might already have, if you were a UBC alumni, you might already have known them when you were studying here. And then we have people who have already worked for quite a while in their professional sphere, like Meg Hannah, bottom left. She's now based in province of Quebec in Canada. And then we also have other lecturers from forestry, like Dr. Andrew Elmas and Dr. Paul Pickell. And then on the bottom right, you have Dr. Justin Bull. He's one of those who will be coming in from the Sauder Business School. And then obviously you might see Owen Croy. Some of you might recognize him as well, hidden amongst the First Nations art there. So he's another leading forestry practitioner who will be joining us and giving us great perspective from the forestry world out there. Okay, career opportunities, you probably want to know. So am I going to be able to get a job after MUFL? That's what you want, right? So definitely, we hope that you will. And the point is to develop you in a sense that will not just, either get you a job or advance you in your current job. So yeah, some of you might know the story behind MUFL, but it took a long time to become an official program. But the fact that it did just means that it really does reflect the overall growth in careers that are focused on conservation and sustainability, especially in cities. And I think we all realize, and the public and even governments out there are truly realizing the importance of focusing on green space and sustainability in cities. So obviously, if we want more green spaces in cities, we are going to need people who can manage these green spaces in cities. And that's where you come in. And that's what the MUFL program hopes to be able to do, to develop you into someone who can do that. So beyond that, there are also leadership opportunities to move you beyond, being in a, for example, like in an operational role to something that's more of a management and more of a leadership role. And that definitely requires formal training and skills, and that's what the program does. And more importantly, if you're not looking to just base yourself in one city, if you're someone like Cecil who has lived in maybe 8 or 9 countries in his life and will probably keep moving, there are plenty of international opportunities in urban forestry and related fields. So it's definitely something that will be transferable and that you can take from one city to a different city as well. So a quote from Darren Green, who is the president of Society of Municipal Arborists. He definitely agrees that we have observed that there is a unique, not just a need, but it's unique for urban forestry professionals in North America. And what other people are saying about the program So this was the previous Dean of Forestry, and I mean, he's still a professor in UBC Forestry, John Innes. Yeah, that, urban centers are definitely going to keep growing. Urbanization will keep happening. And so the challenge of, creating and maintaining an urban forest in a way that works for everyone is something that we will need professionals who know what they're doing to be able to do. And finally, yeah, Owen Croy, whom I've mentioned before, he has been very supportive of the program as well. And he talks about how it's important to develop students who have a range of skills, both technical for the more advanced management leadership roles, and that is crucial to moving your profession forward. All right, and now I will pass the time over to Lee, who will take you through requirements and application processes.
Thank you, Cheryl. And hello, everyone, and good morning or good evening or good afternoon, wherever you're connecting from. So over the next few slides, we will discuss the general program requirements. And Cheryl, it's okay to go to the next slide. Thank you. And I will try my best to answer some questions as well in the chat box. I noticed that we have one about Q&A about funding and scholarships, so I will get to that slide in just a few minutes. But my job is actually to make sure that all the applications have all the complete documents. So in order to apply, it is a good idea to look at the program admission requirements on our program admissions page, which is listed at the bottom there. And you can see that we do require students to have an undergrad degree, a bachelor's degree, generally from a related background in urban forestry, landscape architecture, forestry, ecology, conservation, geography, public health or engineering, or planning. And if you don't have a degree in one of these areas, it does not mean that you should not apply. You can also connect with us, and we will also look at your application and look at what other work experience or volunteer experience you may have. And minimum academic requirements. So that is set by the Faculty of Grad Studies. And right now, well, they've been always requiring an overall average of 76% at UBC, which means they look at the 300 and 400 level courses. And that's for students applying from US and Canada. If you're applying from an international country, the admission requirements are a little bit different, but they are close, they're around the B+ range. But it's because the grading system for each of the countries are different. So we would encourage you to visit the Grad Studies webpage to find your country, where your credential, where you did your bachelor's degree, and look at the minimum requirements from that country. And if you have any questions later on specifically, do feel free to email me as well, and I'd be happy to answer those questions. If we can get to the next slide, please. So students applying from Canada or US will not need to provide an English requirement score, such as TOEFL or IELTS. However, if you are from a university where English is not the official language, then we will require a language proficiency test. And more information can also be found on our webpage, what the minimum requirements are for TOEFL and IELTS. If the university, I should also mention, if the university's official language is English and you're not sure if whether or not you need to take the TOEFL, do connect with me. We might just accept a letter from your university to certify that English is the official language. And in that case, you will not need to take TOEFL. So if you're not sure, you can more than welcome to email me. Next, please. So for the application, our application is open now, the portal, and you can go to our webpage, and under the How to Apply button, there is a link that will take you directly to the Faculty of Grad Studies online application, and you would complete that and pay the application fee. You also will require to provide scanned copies of official transcripts. So you can have the transcript sent to you, and then you can open it and just scan it and upload it onto the application. You can also will have to provide 3 letters of reference, and one of them must be an academic reference. We understand that some students may have graduated in the past, like more than a few years now, and they don't have an academic reference. If you're finding it difficult to find one, do connect with me as well, and we will try and explore options. Because if you have a lot of professional experience, we will definitely encourage you to submit some professional letters for your application as well. And we've gone over the English proficiency test. Our program has a specific MUFL questionnaire. And once you go into the application portal, you will find the questionnaire and you'll be required to complete it, save it, and upload it onto the application portal. And also, the letter of intent and the CV is also important as supporting documents so that we get a better picture of who you are, what your motivation goals are for doing this program, and highlight your work experience or any volunteer experience that you have had in the past. It just gives us a better picture, like I said, of why you want to pursue this program. Next, please. And the deadline for this program is March 15th next year for the July 2022 intake. We would encourage you to apply at least a couple of weeks before the deadline, so it gives time for your referees to complete the letters, because that is also the same deadline as all the supporting documents, such as your transcripts and your reference letters. So if you have any issues with trying to get supporting documents after this deadline, do feel free to contact me, because the application portal will be closed and they will not be able to upload letters. So we would encourage you to apply early, because once you hit the application button, then that's when the referees will get an invitation to upload your reference letter. So it's important to submit your application a little bit before this deadline. And more information about how to apply and frequently asked questions can also be found on our Grant Studies webpage here, the link. That's a very useful link to answer some questions. We have one on the Forestry webpage as well, which is in the following slides. Next, please. In the next slide, we're going to go over the tuition and funding. Unlike the research and thesis programs, where the students are primarily supported by a research assistantship or teaching assistantship, these professional programs are primarily funded by students. And as you can see, this tuition for Canadians and permanent residents are right now around $20,000. And the tuition for the international students are around $35,000. Tuition is payable in 4 installments. So it's due at the beginning of July, September, January, and May. And upon the offer, if you decide to accept it, there will be a $1,000 non-refundable deposit, and that deposit will go towards your tuition fees. The tuition is set by the Board of Governors at UBC, and it has been increased about 2% last few years. So we expect that to be the same for the following year. Next, please. So though it's primarily funded by students, we do have a few awards in the funding page, I should mention, and students can check it out. There are a few awards given for professional development once you're in the program, some awards for top academic student in the program. And there is also the good thing about this program is because it's 100% online, you will not need to pay the student fees. And the student fees are a little bit over $1,000 per year. So students in this program are exempt from paying student fees. Next, please. As we mentioned before, feel free to type your questions in the Q&A box, and we'll try our best to answer your questions. I'm just seeing if there's anything in the Q&A that I can answer.
Okay. Yeah, and if you still have any questions that are more personal and if you don't want to air live today, you are more than welcome to email the email that you see on the slide right now as well.
Yeah, thanks, Cheryl. And yeah, and at the end of this slide here, I also have the link to our frequently asked questions from our website, our own faculty website. We spent a lot of time streamlining questions that our prospective students have, and I find it very useful. So even before you apply, I would encourage you to spend a few minutes just to read that page. Next, please.
Or previous one.
Cheryl, I should just mention that we do have a social media presence here on Instagram. It's at UBC Forestry. This is the Faculty of Forestry's page, and also on Twitter at UBC Forestry and UBC MUFL. So please connect with us as well and follow us on social media. I'm also happy to have Zoom calls if you have any follow-up later on or more specific questions as well. And I believe my email is also in the Forestry webpage under the students. You'll see the Forestry Advising Office and you'll see my email there. Thank you.
Great, okay. Yeah, thanks, Lee. And yeah, if people haven't seen yet, Natasha has also posted a couple of links in the chat box. So if you want to have a look at that, if that answers anyone's questions, that could be useful. Thanks, Natasha. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the slide that says Q&A. If you do have questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A box. I know some of them have been answered. Actually, no, now it tells me all of them have been answered. Perfect. So take your time to type more questions. What I'm going to do now is, some of you did send us questions before the webinar. We really appreciate that. Thank you. Some of the questions do sound a bit similar or are related to one another. So what I'm going to do is I will try to lump questions together. If you realize that your question hasn't been answered, or maybe you missed the answer, please definitely feel free to type it again in the Q&A and ask us to answer it. And I apologize in advance if I accidentally miss anyone's question. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I will address the questions that are specific to application and scholarships and funding first. And then after that, there are some questions about the time zones. We can take that later. And then finally, there are some questions about careers as well. So there are a lot of questions about admissions and requirements. So I think let's do that one first. Okay, so there's a question here about, for Chinese students in the 3+2 program, how do we prepare for the application of the master's program? What should we start at first? And what is the proportion of being successful to be accepted here for masters? It's a long question, so I'm going to type it in the chat as well, so that Lee, you have.
I can answer this one, Cheryl.
Yeah,
so we do have a number of, we actually have a number of students from the 3+2 program. That's the program where students start their undergrad in China and then finish the last 2 years at UBC. And so we have some students in the MGEM program, and I believe the Master of International Forestry program as well. And we certainly encourage them to apply for the MUFL program if they're interested in this particular program. And also talk to some of your referees, and also feel free to connect with Cecil as well, or myself, to learn more about the program. And we would say, get your information, see if you can get some reference letters. If you have some work experience, I would strongly highlight that as well. And if you can provide a letter from a professional experience. If not, the academic letters will also be sufficient. Did you have anything else to add, Cheryl or Cecil?
Not from me, thanks, Lee. Okay,
Nope.
Another question. Thanks, Cecil. Another question sort of about application requirements is, how much math and hard science proficiency is required? Maybe either Lee or Cecil could take this question.
We haven't, I don't believe it's in the questionnaire. There is a list that shows what other background, and so I don't believe those ones are required for this particular program. I see Cecil shaking his head, so.
Yeah, no, that's correct. There's no specific subject requirement. The only thing that's specified that we're looking for a relevant undergraduate program. But as you will also see for urban forestry, there can be many different relevant programs. So there can be anything from geography, horticulture, forestry, conservation, to social sciences, planning, etc. So we take a really broad perspective. You just have to motivate your interest in the program and how your undergrad program, your previous professional experience qualifies you for the program.
Great, thank you. Okay, a very quick question here. Is there any age limit to apply to the MUFL program? I can answer this. The answer is no, there is no age limit. So everyone. I think more importantly is what we said earlier, if we strongly encourage you to apply if you are have started your career and you are looking to advance that. Okay, next question about scholarship opportunities. So probably a question for Lee. Are there scholarship opportunities specific to international students and then specific to students from developing countries?
So there are some scholarships, but like a professional master's students, there's not that many. There's one that's the Binkley Scholarship, and that is not covering the full tuition. It's a partial award, and it's given to a student with the highest, one of the highest academic requirement, GPA, sorry. And so for international students or domestic students, we don't have student awards set aside for that, unfortunately. We do have like some professional development awards, which is like up to $600 for traveling to conferences or attending conferences. But it's a professional master's program. Well, primarily they're funded by students.
Okay. So I guess the answer is the same for students from developing countries. Is there any scholarship specific? Okay, thanks. How about financial assistance? Is there any offered?
For that, you have to contact the student bursary office. That's through the UBC Financial Service Office to talk about bursaries.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Lee. Okay, so there's a question. Can the MUFL program lead to a PhD integrated program with scholarship?
Yeah, shall I answer that maybe? So it's a very unusual road to go. So professional masters is typically not a step towards a PhD. So that would typically be a science-based master, but it's not completely excluded. So it is an option. It's just very unusual. It's an unconventional path to go.
Cool, thanks, Cecil. Okay, yeah, thanks, Lee, for answering all the questions. I'll give you a bit of a break now. There are now questions about time zones, so I can pick that one. So there are questions, will the program be based on Pacific Standard Time? Will it be compatible with Eastern Time, Central Eastern Time Zone, or other parts of the world? So our answer is we will definitely do our best to accommodate all time zones. So once we have an idea of which of the students that we are going to have in the coming cohort and which parts of the world they are from, then we will do our best to schedule it in a way that makes sense for as many of the students in the program as possible. That being said, sometimes there are some time zones that are really difficult to accommodate. So we will do our best. And some of the ways in which we have helped to accommodate students who are in vastly different time zones is we encourage them to perhaps listen to the recording of the lecture instead if they really face a challenge in attending it live. And yeah, there are other ways around it. So definitely if you have a situation that is unique and that you find really hard to make the time zone that has been allocated, always there are opportunities to reach out to us and we will do our best to accommodate that. Okay, there's a question. When do you estimate to have face-to-face classes once again? Maybe a question for Cecil.
Yeah, so for the time being, also based on what people have told us, it's an online program, but we are looking maybe somewhere in the future to develop a bit more hybrid forms. It would not be a fully on-site program, most likely, but there could be opportunities in the program for students to meet. That could be in Vancouver, that could also be in other parts of the world. But this is still preliminary thoughts and ideas. So next year it will be fully online still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. Is there a time when I actually have to go to school? I guess you probably mean like I have to be physically present on the Vancouver Point Grey campus. So no, that is not a requirement of the program. But like Cecil mentioned, we will try to offer opportunities for students to come and meet say in the summer or the final summer of the program, but it's not a requirement. Okay, so moving on to questions about careers. Okay, sorry, I see there's a question. Okay, before I move on to questions about careers, how about we take Michael Dunn's question? And Lee said she would like to answer the question live. So go for it, Lee. Lee, you're still muted.
Thank you. I was just going to mention that some of our students, I believe, are working full-time right now, but I understand that the workload for this course is very heavy, and it's actually better not to be working full-time, just due to the number of courses you're taking and the assignments. I don't know if Cecil and Cheryl want to jump in and add a little bit about this.
Yeah, so we don't encourage combining a full-time job with this program. It is really a full-time master's program. A lot is packed into it. It's not impossible, but it's extremely difficult. I think the question also relates to maybe the opportunity to do the program like on a little bit slower base, maybe taking it over several years. So right now that's not possible yet, but we are looking into options for maybe doing that in the future to have a more modular structure. But I said the next year or two, it will still be a full-time program for 14 months.
Thanks, Lee, and thanks, Cecil. Okay, so we have a couple of questions about careers. First one is, what career can be expected after finishing the program? And will working positions be offered after the program? Cecil, maybe you want to take this one?
Yeah, so the program does not offer working positions. So what we do is that we, of course, try to prepare the students as good as we can for their future careers. And one of the things they do, of course, in the capstone project, there's an opportunity to work with a host, with an industrial partner, and also to try to zoom in on some specific aspect they would like to develop their career in. That could be, for example, something like nature and health relations. It could be something like green infrastructure planning. That could be indigenous urban forestry. So there's different options there. I think it links a little bit also to Paula's question in the chat, in the Q&A. What do we mean with green leaders? So we really want to bring you to the stage where you are able to lead an urban forestry, green infrastructure, or related program in a municipality, in an organization, in a private consultancy business, for example. So you really should be in a position where you typically would lead teams of professionals driving forward a strategic program. So that's kind of what we're looking at. We're looking at kind of mid to higher level leadership positions in those organizations.
Great, thanks, Cecil. Okay, and we have one question, which is about the applicability of the program. So is the program relevant or applicable to urban forestry in the Midwest USA, specifically Indianapolis?
Yes, it would be. So it's in that sense, it's a very generic program. So we are not focusing on the Pacific Northwest. We don't have courses, for example, that ask people to identify tree species or to work in a very specific context. So we really try to broaden it up as much as we can. So we typically have cases from all across North America, but also from European cities, from Australia, from Asia. So we really, our focus is really international. So we want you to be able to also be flexible in where you would be able to work as an urban forestry leader.
Great, thank you. Okay, and there are a couple of specific questions about grades from certain countries or certain universities in the world. For these questions, I think I would encourage you to email us and ask about your case-specific questions so that we can make sure that we are answering you to your unique circumstance. Okay, that's all the questions that I have seen so far, and I don't see other questions in the Q&A box at this point.
Maybe can I jump in quickly, Cheryl? I thought maybe it would be interesting, yeah, to have an idea what kind of students are in the program right now. So right now, actually, all the students in the program are people with experience. People who have been working in arboriculture, in urban forestry positions, in biology, horticulture. And many of them represent municipal backgrounds. So they've been working in cities or towns, from big cities to small towns. Many of them are also have consultancy experience or have been in kind of private sector positions. And also we have people from the NGO sector. So we have 2 students who are working for not-for-profits in the kind of urban forestry sustainability field. So it's a pretty mixed group of students, but what they have in common is they all have practical experience right now, and they all have some form of leadership position or are growing into that. So they really want to up their skills and qualifications.
Thanks, Cecil. Okay, maybe we'll just give maybe a minute or two in case anyone still has questions and wants to type them.
Yeah, and as you already said, and Lee as well, we're always very happy to answer questions by email as well, or to schedule further talks with you individually if you have specific questions. We'll also probably do another session at the start of next year as well. So there will be further opportunities for you, of course, to interact. And I realize many of you have a lot of questions about a program like this. So you're very much encouraged to contact us with any question you can think of. Right, I think we're running out of questions, Cheryl. So
Yeah, I think we are.
shall we
Okay.
shall we say thank you then to everybody? And first of all, thanks for your interest in the program. I said, please reach out. We're very eager to have some really good students coming into the next cohort. It's an exciting program with a lot of interesting opportunities, with some really great courses, great content. And I think this is really going to be one of these exciting fields for people to work in the future as well. So thanks for listening, and I would like to thank my colleagues as well for being here. There's another question, or is it just?
Yeah,
oh, there's a
another
question. Okay, here we go. Yeah, we'll take it. Sure. Okay, maybe the person Infinix Smart 5 wants to ask the question live.
Are they able to, Natasha? Or
I think Fabian can help us with that.
Here we go.
I think Smart 5 should be able to unmute if you'd like to.
Maybe not. Temitopa, nice to see you here.
Hello.
Feel free, Temitopa, to if it doesn't work with asking, feel free to type your question in the chat or in the Q&A.
Yeah, we'll give you time. Thank you.
Yeah, so the question is it only online? And that it is. Yeah, at this moment, all the courses are taught online. So there's no requirement to be in Vancouver. Everything is done remotely. Okay, any further questions? Last chance for now. Okay, if not, then I think we'll say thank you for today, for this morning, this afternoon, or this evening, wherever we are in the world. And again, thanks again to all my colleagues for running this session and answering all the questions and presenting a lot about this exciting program. So I hope to see you at some stage in the Master of Urban Forestry Leadership. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for joining.